Now, after several rounds of negotiations, Russia and Ukraine signed the much-awaited grain deal at Turkey, and this was, of course, facilitated by the United Nations. The deal would make way for the Ukrainian grains to be exported to international markets. In the latest, the United Nations Security Council has commended the landmark grain deal. The grain deal was at the focus of the Security Council's meeting, and the members have also praised the efforts that have been made by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and Turkey's government in securing this agreement. Now, Ukraine's ambassador to the United Nations has said that they are ready to unlock more than 20 million tons of grain as long as Russia complies with the safe functioning of the grain corridor.
It is the responsibility of international partners to ensure Russia's compliance with its obligations within the framework of the safe functioning of the grain corridor. This is the only prerequisite for unlocking more than 20 million tons of grain from last year's grain harvest in Ukraine.
Meanwhile, Russia took the opportunity to defend itself against charges that it was triggering some kind of a food crisis by holding grain and fertilizers hostage. The deputy Russian ambassador to the United Nations said that the deal proves that the charges are simply inappropriate.
We thank the UN Secretary General and Turkey for not acting at the behest of the Western camp, which in large part allowed these agreements to be reached. The signing of the Russia-UN memorandum on supporting getting Russian food products onto global markets once again indicates that it is absolutely inappropriate to try and blame our country for the global food crisis that has been artificially created by the actions of Western states, and signs of which we are seeing ever more evidently.
While most of the Security Council members recognized the effort, representatives from the United States and China pointed out that implementing this agreement is going to be pretty hard, with the US also highlighting that the Russian bombing of the ports showcased the intrinsic difficulties that will be faced in executing this deal. Listen in.
We welcome the progress made in Istanbul last week on the export of grain and food and commend the Secretary General and the government of Turkey for their efforts to facilitate this much-needed progress. But we also saw Russia's true character a few hours later when it launched a missile attack on the port of Odessa. Bombing a port does not make it easier for grain to get out. Russia should allow grain and food to leave Odessa unharmed to feed a hungry world.
Meanwhile, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited a Black Sea port and said that his country is ready to start grain shipments. Ukraine is awaiting a signal from the United Nations and Turkey to start the shipments. Zelensky also stated that he is happy to see the people could actually now finally resume their jobs.
Перший корабель завантажується з часів початку війни. Це турецьке судно. Я стою на фоні цього судна. Це говорить про те, що порт почав працювати. Найголовніше для нас – порт працює, люди працюють. Ви бачите, що багато людей. Всі, скажу відверто, щасливі, що всі вийшли на роботу, всі мають роботу і що процес пішов.
The deal aims to allow safe passage for grain shipments in and out of the Ukrainian ports, which was blockaded by Russia. A joint coordination center in Istanbul will also oversee the departures from the 3 Ukrainian ports. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.